Okay, so people, don't mind me, I have got hiccups. However, I'm going to be breaking down these two positions. This was Euro USD. This is towards the back end of London session. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you the drop down analysis. You know, the higher time frame down to the lower time frame, showing you how I'm finding my narrative, finding my entries. Sorry. But yeah, if you want to learn more, make sure you join the Discord. I'm posting my trades. I'm posting some other stuff in there. I've got a free course coming soon as well. Oh my god, I feel like my throat's going to explode. So if we start off on the 1 hour, okay, actually we could check on the 4 hour, but the 1 hour I believe is where I was looking. So I think if we have a look, okay, so yeah, on the 4 hour we have this huge wick. So we've got our thing subjectively, right? We have an external high here that price failed to close above. You know, we've had huge wick up, but we failed to close. So that gives me the indication that price is struggling to create a new high. So what happens when it's struggling? We need to find strength equals liquidity. So if we look over here, right, the first point of liquidity is going to be beneath the previous low, as it doesn't mitigate anything. I can't stop hiccuping, it's doing my din. So this is our higher time frame narrative. We've got a POI here as well, which has obviously been refined on the lower time frame. But if we look, we can see that price has come down, taken the first point of liquidity, tapped the POI, and hopefully we'll have the continuation up to close above the previous high. Now, we've had the initiation, we've had the buyers come up. However, after every single trending leg, we're always going to need a retracement, right? So if we jump down to the 1 hour, we can potentially identify where the retracement's going to occur. So if we have a little look, we can see that as price is coming up, we've got our first point of liquidity. So even if price wanted to sell down, we couldn't until we've come above this level, right? The first point of liquidity is the first point of volume, so price will never buy or sell until it's taken it. Now above that, we can see we have a nice order block sat here, which we can see reactions from. I'm super sorry for hiccuping if it's putting anyone off, but I'm struggling. Now, this is where I was expecting price to see a reaction from. As I said, we're not looking for sells, right? We are looking for reactions. So we are looking for counter trend sells, not external sells. So the external sells is, you know, external. So we'd have to see the lows get taken, etc. However, we're not looking for that to happen. We're only anticipating a small retracement. And what I mean by retracement is we now need to see a retracement on the lower time frame to continue the trend up. I feel like my throat's going to implode. Now, if we start looking at where our liquidity is, this here isn't our first point of liquidity because it's mitigating this order block, right? So there's no volume beneath this low. So we can adjust that first point of liquidity to here, as it doesn't mitigate this order block, right? So that is where we are going to be looking for sales down to. We're not going to be taking buys above it because we haven't got liquidity. So now if we jump down to the 15 minute, I'm so sorry for hiccuping. We've got our 1 hour POI. All we're waiting for is for price to slow down. As we can see, we've had a huge impulse up, then with a small retracement, and price is creeping up, right? We're slowly starting to struggle with that liquidity. So that gives me the indication that price is potentially going to retrace. So jumping down, keep going down, we can see that price has tapped our POI. We can go to the 1 minute. We can see that price tapped our POI. I did in fact miss the buys here. Oh god, I did in fact miss the buys here. Because as you can see, the first point of liquidity for the sells is here, because this liquidity is mitigating this order block, and so on and so on. So for price to sell, say for instance this was the initiation, we'd need an unmitigated point of liquidity beneath this level for it to remain within, right, and then sell down. But because we've got no liquidity, we're gonna see the inducement. I can't believe I still got hiccups. It feels impossible to speak. Anyway, so that was another position you could have took. Then as we've seen the inducement occur, all we're looking for is to start seeing the bearish momentum come in. As we can see, price comes down, retraces back up, sells off. We're waiting for the first point of liquidity. Price comes down here, retraces up, leaves a high. However, that would not be our valid external liquidity unless there was an external low after. So as you can see here, we've got the external low, which then validates that as an external high. So that is our entry, right? We've got a higher time frame narrative, a higher time frame liquidity. We've got a lower time frame liquidity. We've now got our entry liquidity. We've got 3 or 4 or 5 confirmations here. Now all we're doing is entering after the first tap, first candle to sell with volume. So this is our entry. My MetaTrader done something that I've never seen before. We ended up closing out like a 3R, like here. I didn't even have a take profit. I hadn't even set break even yet, so I don't actually know what happened here. So I missed out on just under 12R. But as we've seen price continue on, obviously always anticipating reactions and reversals. Obviously we need liquidity and a POI. So same thing again here. Everything here is mitigated. Right, so the first point of liquidity is going to be here. Price is not going to continue selling until we come above that. What's laying just above? We've got a nice order block. So that was my second entry. If we have a little look, all I'm doing is waiting for a candle to close with volume. We'll come down. A huge candle come down here. We've retraced back up. I entered there. I don't know how I didn't get stopped out of this, but we ended up making 4%. So that was nice. Nice little just under 4R. And then obviously our take profit down here is that order block that was just underneath that first point of liquidity on the higher time frame. So it's super crucial to understand liquidity, reactions, narrative. You've really got to look at the market and build a picture. You know, we're trying to figure out what price is trying to do, because once you've built up your higher time frame narrative of what it's trying to do, then on the lower time frame, all you've got to do is figure out how it's going to achieve that. How is it going to get to the external high? Do we need to see liquidity? Are we going to see inducement? Are we going to... Do you know what I mean? There's so many different things you've got to take into consideration. And it's super easy when you are trading like this, though, because simply, like I was saying to one of the students earlier, if the higher time frame isn't giving you a clear narrative, isn't giving you nice price action, then why on earth are you still spending the rest of the day on the lower time frame trying to catch positions when the higher time frame isn't even providing you with a valid solution, right? So there's a lot of ways, a lot of different things that come with this strategy that can help you with, you know, FOMO, exiting trades too early, because the thing is with this high time frame narrative and drop down correctly, your direction is correct 90% of the time. The entries is what you need to work on. So if your entry is holding, your take profit is most likely going to get hit. So you're not going to close early of the fear of missing out on what you've already accumulated. You're not going to be scared to enter, because if you've got higher time frame narrative and confidence, then it's just the entry. You know, if you get induced out, you take the re-entry. Re-entries are my best friend. I'm always catching re-entries. You know, if I get stopped out, I almost get more excited and more confident because we've now had the inducement occur. So make sure you guys are focusing on what the real objective is, and that is to do your drop down analysis from your higher time frame, building a picture, and so on. But make sure you join the Discord, join the free webinars. I'll see you guys later. I feel like my head's going to explode because of these bloody hiccups, but I will see you guys in the next video.